All right, so I want to tell you like the biggest difference between men and women, right? So, okay, so you know how they all say like, okay, women are this anomaly that you just can't be figured out, and you know, you should, um, you know, women don't have to be like stable and steady. What's that saying that they have? Woman can change her mind at any time, and you know, there's all these sort of excuses that are given for women. Okay, but you have to realize that at the end of the day, it kind of makes sense. Okay, I'll explain it exactly how it is. Okay, so basically, and also you have to understand women have a very distinct advantage. Okay, men have a very distinct advantage as well. Okay, the thing is that if you do not take advantage of your distinct advantage, you will be taken advantage of, and it's almost guaranteed. Okay, and you will be left, you know, with your, left holding the bag, so to speak. Okay, while she pretty much gets whatever she wants, right? That's definitely not what you want, right? So let me give you an example, a big example, or one of the core, a few core reasons how women are completely different than men. Okay, well, first of all, you have to realize that women can carry children to term. Okay, that's crazy. Okay, we can act like we're equal. We are not equal. Okay, she can hold another life inside of her body. Okay, for 9 months. Okay, and expel it from her body. Okay, and she can do this over a period of years, right? Until she say hits, 45 or something like that. Okay, from the ages of say 12 through 45, she is capable of this miraculous, remarkable thing. Okay, men do not have that. Okay, so and you also have to realize that because she has that ability, okay, there's a certain sensitivity that is inherent in women that does not exist in men. Okay, so for example, right, stability in the world is sort of a new concept. Stability in the world is damn near alien. Okay, you know, you look at Estonia, okay, or Georgia, the state, or not, it's not the state, the country, Georgia, or like Estonia, back when they were Soviet, countries, you know, and entire families would have to live on, one can of sardines for the day, okay, and a loaf of bread. That's all they had to eat was this one can of sardines and this loaf of bread for an entire 4 or 5 person family. Okay, right? There's that, right hot off the tail of World War II. Okay, where people, Nazis, okay, essentially came in to storm their country, whether it's Czech or, whatever, Poland or whatever, okay, stormed their country, took them hostage and said, you either fight with us or we're going to ruin your country. You either become Nazis or we're going to obliterate you. So a lot of countries aligned themselves with Nazis. It's kind of like saying you join the European Union or we stomp you out like a used cigarette, right? So you have to realize that even in the most, how would you say, civil of societies in the world, okay, not that long ago, all right, there was enormous instability to the point for where your cousin gets murdered, your dad gets murdered, okay, your daughter gets raped, pardon me for the French, by a Nazi or something like that, and that is just life. It was much more inclined to happen in that hostile environment. Okay, So do you see what I'm saying? So women in general, okay, since they want to carry the goal for women is to carry their children to term, right? There's a certain level of hostility that they cannot have. Okay, they can't sit there and say "f you," "screw you," whatever to the person or the group or the country that comes in and invades the country that they have. Okay, because that would put them at a distinct advantage. Okay, especially since they're physically weaker and they're carrying the next generation in their abdomens. Okay, so they have been given this sort of mechanism where they can feel comfortable or sexual arousal or whatever in pretty much any situation. Okay, and this is, you know, there's studies that show this. You could go to ChatGPT and type it in. You can go to Psychology Today. It's a no, commonly known that women, um, and we see it in society all the time. You know, women kissing other girls, girls kissing girls, but then they'll turn around and date a guy too. We see this all over the place, right? How is it I don't sit there and kiss my best friend who's a guy, you know what I'm saying, until I decide that, oh, I want to get married and be straight? No. Oh, I got drunk. We were just having fun. We were just playing. No, not with men, right? But then that's the difference between men and women, okay? Women, the you know how there's like evolutionary psychology, right? Well, evolutionary psychology sort of dictates that women be more flexible in that way, right? So think about it like, okay, before World War II, there was a lot of colonization, okay, meaning, okay, uh, powerful Western world country, powerful Western world country would go into, you know, innocent small country, okay, like Chile or whatever, with guns and say, you know, you play ball or we're going to kill you, okay, and we're going to kill your people and we're going to pillage your, do whatever, whatever. So they play ball, okay. It's the first time they've ever seen, you know, cannonballs. It's the first time they've ever seen these sort of weapons, okay. So they play ball, right? And plus a lot of this stuff is just brutal, just pure brutality, right? It would only make sense for women to be in the mindset where they are more open minded to being with anybody who has the power, okay, because if they're more open minded, then there's more of a likelihood that they'll be able to take their children to term. And keep in mind that this sort of barbarism, okay, has existed pretty much throughout history, okay. There's never been a time in recorded history up until, say, after World War II, where this type of barbarism doesn't exist in the United States and maybe a few countries in Europe, like Germany, France, you know, etc. There's still a lot of strife, mafia in Italy, wars in Israel, right? You know, um, instability, coups in Ukraine, a lot of instability, world instability. There is, we as human beings do not have a lot of stability. We like to think that we're stable, but we're not stable, that stable, okay, as a society, okay. And so that's the reason, at least from a biological, psychological standpoint, that women are designed the way that they're designed, right? So this, it is weird because it means that women could feel satisfaction anywhere, whether she's with a man, whether she's with a woman, whether she's with gay friends, whether she's with just her family. She's going to find pleasure in that situation. Okay, but that also means that you, okay, may think you may be in love with her, but she's not in love with you, right? Or you're in love with her, and then you go to your friends, and you're like, haha, man, that's great, bro. You found a girl that you really like. And then she goes to her friends. Her friend has a crush on her. She has a crush on her friends. Okay, and they got a secret dang affair going on together. And she's saying to me over the phone that maybe we should slow our relationship down. Well, I'm attempting to speed it up. Okay, because I found what I want, but she hasn't found what she wants because she's so flexible in general. Okay, but this flexibility is can drive you crazy. Okay, but you also have to realize that if you do not take advantage of what you have, your advantage, then you're going to be left in the dirt. Okay, so basically, your advantage is this. Okay, you set the tone, the precedent. Okay, when you as the alpha, right? The guy with the money, the car, the the alpha in our case is the wealthiest man or the wealthiest person in her life, or the most resource rich person in her life that is willing to take care of her. Okay, the best, right? That's the alpha. And if I'm the alpha and she feels comfortable anywhere, then her only navigation tool is to hop with the alpha. So she hops with me. Okay. But if I'm sitting there doing what everybody else does, right? If I'm sitting there doing what everybody else does, the relationship's gonna die. Okay. Or I'm not gonna really excel in the relationship. I'm not gonna be able to have the success or the happiness in the relationship that I want to. Okay. But if I go out of my way to build a way for myself, think about like Hugh Hefner, Playboy. Okay. He built Disneyland for adults. Okay. If those girls were going to be in his mansion, they were going to abide by his rules. So women did things at the mansion that they'd never done anywhere else in life. Okay. And that they never will do anywhere else in life. Okay. That is because she gravitates towards the alpha. Doesn't matter who the alpha is, as long as there is an alpha. And if you're the alpha, then she's going to jump on you. Okay. But now, if she sits there and she's trying to change you, okay, because her friends made her feel guilty or whatever, that's a whole different story. Okay. That's a whole different story. Okay. But it probably comes because she has a very tight relationship with her friends, much tighter than you would ever know or could ever imagine. But you also have to realize that just how she is extremely unstable with you, she's probably very unstable with her friends, and her friends have been very unstable with her. Okay? And so, you know, it just it's a deep thing. It's for something. It's a topic that I definitely want to broach um, a lot later. You know, in this podcast, in this material that I'm releasing. So keep checking us out. Thanks for listening. Until next time, ciao.